Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be starting episode 16 of our Catacombs series, where we try to take you on some deep dive tutorials on specific edits in D2R. And with that said, today's topic is going to be all about creating your own kill and death tracker item in-game. So as usual, if you guys are enjoying this kind of content, make sure you like and subscribe. You guys know the drill. And with that said, let's just start rolling right into all the files we need. So I've already pulled out a few files. You may not need these depending on exactly how you're going to implement this, item or whatever into your game. But how we've done it, I'll just go ahead and show you real quick. Let me just close some extra files here. And I've created a new charm that I've given the item code of ZZZ, and I've put that, here at the bottom of the file. So here's our kill charm. Again, item code ZZZ. Nothing special really, just changed the levels and stuff. So it could be a low-level item. I've then added that as a unique item. So once again, we'll let this load. I don't know why it's so slow today. If we scroll to the bottom here, we'll see our new kill tracker item that's assigned to the item code ZZZ. We're going to get into the stats that I've added onto that at the end of the video here, but just know that I've just assigned that to a unique item. And then finally, in character stats.text on the Amazon, if we go over to our item 6, I've now told the Amazon to spawn with our special ZZZ item code as a quality 7, so it will be unique, and therefore it's going to pull up that special one that we just gave it. So that is my setup. Again, if you're having this as a special drop, or maybe they make it from a cube recipe or whatever, then go ahead and tackle that how you'd like. It will make sense at the end of the video how you make the actual item, but that's what we're starting with. So with that said, just to save some time on all that, now we can pull out the actual files that we need. So the meat and potatoes of this edit is going to come from item statcost.txt. We also are going to need properties.txt to go ahead and link a property to that so we can control it from unique items, cube recipes, things like that. We're going to go ahead and pull out skills.txt because we're going to be using a skill to add these stats to our character. And then finally, we're going to pull out states.txt because that skill is going to apply a special state, which will allow us to affect that stuff directly. So that's all we needed as far as text files go. You are going to need your string JSONs to add your new stat display, and then obviously if it's like a new item or something to name your item and that kind of thing. We're not going to go over all that. We've done that several times in previous videos, so make sure you check that out if you're not sure where to go on that. So with all that out of the way, let's just jump right into the main show here. So to explain how this works, let me just expand this a little bit, and let me explain how this functions so we're on the same page moving forward. So this is going to apply essentially new character stats to your character. And these are different from normal stats that would appear on an item, like, I don't know, enhanced defense or something like that, because these will persist in between games just like your character stats do. They're saved to your character, and therefore if you were to, let's say, transfer this item between the stash to another character, it's going to show that character's kills, not just the kills like stored on the item itself. They are part of your character. However, that means there's some additional hurdles and limits that we kind of need to jump through to accomplish that behavior. Again, it's important for us that it's a character stat because we want it to persist through games, so that 6 months down the road you can see that your necromancer has 1.8 million kills or whatever. So with that just kind of understood and how this the base function works, we're going to go ahead and copy this experience stat. The only reason we're copying it is because it already has high save bit values and stuff and a lot of other information that we just don't need. So it's just a good thing to copy so we don't have to edit as much. I'm going to go to I'm going to go to unused 210 and unused 211. These stats are not currently used in the game, And we do want a stat that's below the kind of 255 range, because it's just known that these stats are kind of in that character stat range. Stats below that or above that, depending on how you think about it, those are going to be your just more normal kind of item stats and stuff. I'm not positive it works exactly like that in Resurrected still, but it was how it worked in Legacy, and so I'm just that's what I'd go with. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and just paste that experience stat that we copied just a second ago, and we're going to go ahead and update the IDs and stuff real quick. And again, these are going to hold our new kill and death stats. So I'm going to go ahead and just basically call these kill base and death base. Again, these are just kind of the base references for our new stat. And the only other edit we need to make here is actually, let me lock these rows up, make it a little easier for you guys, is we want to head over to the direct column, and we want to put a 1 in these sections here. And that just tells the game that other stats can access this stat and kind of read it and use that information. So we definitely want that enabled. So we're going to go ahead and flag that. And that's the only edits we need for our character stats. Now, obviously, if you're changing how high you want that kill value to be able to go or things like that, you can adjust all your bit values. But we specifically copied experience so we could have it at like the max value. Now what we want to do is we want to clone the item skill on kill and item skill on death stats. So you guys are probably familiar with these. This is like your 100% chance to cast, level 45 blizzard when you die, things like that. So I'm going to add 6 new rows actually, but we're going to paste those 2 at the bottom here, and we're going to get diving into why I did that. So let's just fill those rows real quick. So as I mentioned before, we're using a character stat to hold all these. What we want to do now is create like a dummy item stat that can read that, and then basically just work nicely with displaying it and stuff, how Diablo 2 Resurrected likes, because it doesn't play so nicely with character stats depending on certain functions and things like that. So anyways, we're just going to create a new stat here called kill_dummy, and then the same thing, we're going to do death_dummy, and we don't need to do anything else on these stats. They are just going to be completely blank. We're going to add in our end of line zeros real quick just to be safe. But again, these are just kind of placeholder stats to retrieve the character stat. So with that said, we need something to show, how many kills or deaths the character actually has. So like something to use to display all that information with. So I'm going to go ahead and just make kill display and death display. And these are going to be the names of our, stats for that purpose. And for these, we're just going to make a few edits, the important ones. Once more, I'm going to lock those columns here. Is we want to edit the OP, OP param, OP base, and OP stat columns. This is going to let us link both our character stat and our dummy item stat together, and then assign them to a string so that it's all pulling the information correctly. So to make sense of that real quick, we're going to hop over to our trusty friend, the Blizzard data guide, and we're going to make sense of the edits I'm going to do here. So for OP, I'm going to put in a value of 2. For OP param, I'm going to put in a value of 0. And we're going to make sense of that real quick. So for the OP function of 2, that's going to tell it to use a by level operator, and it's going to take the OP base, and it's going to times it by that OP stat, the OP param, and that is going to be the way that we essentially, obviously, you divide by 0, you get 1. So this is the way we're going to just pull that information, whatever it is, from that stat, and have it displayed. So the information we're pulling is obviously our kill count, and that's stored on that character stat. So we're going to use kill base as the OP base. So that should make things a little easier to remember. And again, the same thing for the death stat. And for the stat we want to link it to, again, that's going to be our dummy stat. So we just want to link that to our dummy stat here so that they can talk to each other. And we're going to do the same thing for death. All right, so we're all done with our OP stats. One thing we do want to change on here is, again, now we want to add strings to those stats. So I'm going to go ahead and put our kill display. We'll give it a priority of 999, so it's always at the bottom. And we'll do 998 for death display. We're going to go ahead and for the desk function, we're going to use a function of 3. Basically, we just want it to directly apply the stats, no special calcs or anything needed. And we're going to use a value of 2, so it always shows the string, or always shows the value of that string. For the actual string keys, let's just go ahead and use kill stats and death stat. And we just need to spell correctly, so let's go ahead and delete that extra one. All right, and so those are the strings that it's going to apply. We're all done with all the prep work. So just a real quick recap. We've went ahead and added our character stats here with our kill and death base. We've added dummy stats that can read those character stats and play nicely with other things. And then we've added a display stat that will finally kind of combine all those and then turn it into a string that we can read and use as a player. However, nothing is actually going to work until we edit our skill on kill and skill on death clones. So for those, I'm just going to name this, I don't know, let's just do kill skill. We'll do death skill. And about the only change we want to make here is going to be in the item event function. So we do want the item event to be, when you've killed an enemy, but instead of using function 30, which if we go back once more to our data guide, we can see that for function 20, it uses a skill against the target after that target is attacked or is, hit. But this word here, attacked, is a big problem for us because that means that if you're to use this item with a sorceress or something that uses firebolt and firewall or bone spear, something like that, it's not considered an attack. It does not have source damage. That's considered a skill or a spell. And so we want to use function 30 because it's a much broader function. It just says cast a skill when that item event occurs with or without targeting. So that'll allow it to work on like firebolt, bone spear, etc. If you find yourself everything's working in game, but for some reason it's not adding to your kills when you're using certain classes or such, this is why you need to go ahead and change that to 30. A small disclaimer: there is likely still some skills that will not function as far as adding kills to your total. Things like Whirlwind or something might have some hard-coded things that stop it from working with this, but for the most part, this should work for 90–95% of the skills out there, at least to my knowledge. So again, just with that understood and explained, we're going to go ahead and update that to function 30. And we no longer want it to show any string information on these skills. We no longer want it to say 100% chance to cast, level blah, blah, blah when you die, because this is just going to be like a hidden thing, and all the player knows is that, it's tracking kills. They don't know how it's working. So we're just going to delete all of that, so it no longer shows anything, and now we're done with all of our stats. So we've created all our prep stats and then our actual stats that control the function of everything at the end here. Actually, I did forget one thing. On these, actually, we'll save that. Sorry, I'm a liar. You can ignore me. We've created our stats. We're going to go ahead and link some properties to that real quick. Can be pretty simple and straightforward, but we need properties so that if you want to control it from the cube or control it from unique items and stuff, that you have a property to talk to that with. So I'm just looking for kill dash skill and death dash skill. Here they are. We're just going to go ahead and clone these for our kind of function stats that we made at the end. And I'm going to add 4 rows because we're going to add some properties to control the display as well. For this, I'm just going to call it kill dash skill dash new, and then death dash skill dash new because we're super creative over here. And again, that's going to control the function stats. So let me just lock these up and make sense of that. That's going to control these end stats here for the function of the stat. So that's going to be our stat 1. We'll just copy and paste those in there. And then we want something, again, to help control the display stat. So that's just going to be kill dash display and then death dash display. We're going to enable those. We're going to give it a function of 17. And then once more, it's going to tie to the kill and display stat. So we're going to copy those. So again, one's kill dash display, and then that's going to control kill underscore display. So name those whatever you want. That's just how I'm doing it here. So everything's linked now. I'm going to end align those. And we now have our 4 new properties. We do not need properties for our character stat or our dummy stat. We're never messing with those directly because it's not how that works. So we've added all those. Now we're going to go ahead and add our actual skill that performs all this magic for us. So let's wait for my slow computer to get those loaded. And there we go. So I'm going to go ahead and copy Might. You can copy kind of any paladin order really, but this is just an easy one. So we're going to go ahead and copy Might. We're going to add that to the very bottom here, and then we'll explain exactly how that's working and what we're doing there. So just quick update on the ID. We're going to change this to, I don't know, something like kill skill. Just so we know what we're working with. It's no longer paladin only, and it doesn't need a skill description. So we're going to get rid of those, and then let's start taking care of what we need. So let me lock up these rows once more. So we no longer want it to give the state might. While it's not completely necessary to change the state, you may run into conflicts because you obviously can't have like 2 might states active at the same time. So what I would recommend just for best practices is to create a new state for these. So with that said, actually I want to create 2 clones of this because we need a death skill as well. So just one second here. And then let's just rename this. All right, sorry about that. So what we want to do is we're going to go ahead and make new states for those. So I'm just going to call this kill state and death state because, again, we're very creative around here, and it's just easier to keep track of things. So we've updated those. We don't actually need an aura range, so we're going to go ahead and remove that. But if you're using this, there is some ways to attach this to like mercenaries or summon so that it can track their kills as well and kind of add them to your total. We're not going to go quite into the depths into that video in this video, but if you are doing that, you know, you've reached out for help on our Discord or something like that, then you very well may want a range calculation in there. However, with that said, we're moving on to the actual static controls. We no longer want might to add damage percent with this aura stat. We want it to add to our kind of character stats that we created at the beginning. So again, that's going to be kill base and death base. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste those in there as the 2 stats to control. And we no longer want it to use LN34 as the calculation. The new calculation is just 1. And the reason for that is obviously when we kill 1 enemy, we want it to add 1 stat. There is no fancy calculation or anything for it. That's just all there is to it. Now we can go ahead and clean up the file. There's a lot of stuff we don't need, and then we want to add this to an item effect. So let's scroll over here. We're going to get rid of all this. Don't need it. When we get to the item effect column, we're going to go ahead and pop that in. There we go. So for the item effect column, let me just show those real quick. We do want this skill to be able to be used on items. Again, in my particular edit, or in this particular edit, we're attaching it to a charm. So we want to put it in for item effect there so it's usable on items. We don't really care about max levels and stuff. It's not like a real skill. So we're going to delete all this extra stuff. That's just, again, not needed. It's not a skill like that. And that should be good enough. We're fine there. So the important things are, again, change your states so you don't have to worry about conflicts. Change the stat it's going to. So it updates the right thing, and then, you know, set it to 1. Obviously, if you, for some reason, want, you know, every kill to give you 5 kills or something, you could change that, I guess. But, you know, most of you are just going to want 1 there. And then finally, don't forget to add a 1 in the item effect column so that it knows that the skill can be used on items. So we're all done with the actual skill there. I'm going to go ahead and save it. And basically the last step is just to add those states in real quick that we just told that skill that we're using. So we're going to go ahead and just go to the bottom, add 2 new rows in. Whoops. Helps if I click the right one. We're going to add our 2 rows in. We're going to call this again what we did in that text file. So kill state and death state. We're going to go ahead and just update those IDs real quick. And we don't need to do anything else in the state file, actually. I'm going to go ahead and end align these zeros, but we're not changing overlays. We're not changing colors. We're not doing any of that stuff. We just needed a separate state from the rest so that there's no conflicts and this can always be active with other things. So we've made all of our changes. Our stats are active, our properties are linked, our skill correctly controls that stat, and then finally our state enables it all by facilitating that function. So the only thing you need to do is decide how you're adding it to the item. Again, we have chosen in this example to just put it on a unique charm that the character starts with. So for the actual stats that we're putting on that, let's make some sense of that real quick. So I'm just going to expand some of these rows for you. Let's get those taken care of. All right, and I guess I probably should have opened that one with those, but let's make sense of this. So for the property 1, this is going to be the property of the function stat. So if you remember, we created some new properties here which control the actual function stat. So this is going to be the entry we use for property 1. So we're going to copy and paste that in there. And we need to tell it what skill that function needs to be controlling. So for par1 or parameter 1, we're going to put in 371. The reason we're doing that is because if we go to skills.txt and look at our actual skill for the kill tracker, that's the ID it uses. So obviously if your ID is higher or something or different, then just make sure you're updating that. For the min one, this is the chance to cast. We want it as 100% chance to cast, so it's always adding this kill every time they kill something. And then, it's just going to be a level 1 skill because there's no point in having, multiple levels for this. We're going to do the same exact thing for the death tracker function stat. However, it's going to be ID 372 for us. And then finally, we are going to add the display stats onto this item. Again, these are properties we added to control the stat. So we're just going to paste those in there. And we're just putting 1 in the min and max just to show that the item has the stat. The actual values are going to be pulled from your character, so it will just display them as such. So we've made all of our changes now. Let me make sure we've saved everything. Yep, look good. Assuming you have edited your strings, so as a reminder, in item stat cost.txt, I'll just show you that real quick. If we go to our kill display and our death display, remember that we told it to use the string kill stat and death stat for the string key. So again, if we look, we have our kill stat and death stat key, and all this does is just a simple JSON that will translate it into, say, the word kills and the word deaths. So now they have something on the item that will actually show them all that stuff. So we're going to go ahead and start the mod here. As long as I didn't forget anything, we should see that when I create a new character, it starts with our unique charm, and those stats are already on the charm. Let me go ahead and delete one from an old test here. And we'll create our Amazon because I didn't bother editing the ones for any of the others. All right, and I messed something up because we don't have the stats on the item. So let's see what I did here. Always fun live troubleshooting. Let's see here. I forget the direct column. Nope, got that. Got the item effect. All right, what did I mess up? Let's see. Kill skill. All that looks good. Oh, I know what I forgot. Sorry about that. It does not have any save bits. So good thing I did this live. If you happen to forget something like that yourself, you'll know what it is. So we're just going to put 1 in those save bits columns. I do apologize for that. Let's go ahead and reload the game. And yep, this is why I do things live, so you can see it all in real time, including any mistakes that you might make. I am definitely not above them. I make plenty, so good example of that. All right, so let's try this again. And I might need to make a new character. Boo. All right, let's try it. There we go. So sorry about that. Now you can see we have our kills and deaths shown on the item. And let's just go ahead and test it and make sure I didn't forget anything else. But we should be able to, go kill any kind of monster or whatever and have that update. And there you go. So you can see it updating. I'll see if I can find a champion or something real quick that can kill me without waiting for 22 minutes for the Fallens to do it. And of course, there's nothing close. So you guys can imagine, I'm sure that the death tracker works fine. Everything's copy and pasted. So if the kill tracker is working, then your death tracker shouldn't be an issue. So see if I can have get ganked real quick, but looks like it's going to take forever. Yeah, so there you go. Sorry for the bumbling around there at the end, but I hope you guys have seen how you can add a kill and death tracker to your game. Thanks for being patient with the whole process. I know it's a lot of copy and pasting with the item stats and stuff, but hopefully if I just yammer on just long enough, then I'll die and we can see the death tracker working as well. But obviously the zombies are slow and they're making me look bad. So come on, guys. I got 16 life. You can do it. Maybe I should take that off, huh? Be smart. Look at that. All right, and now you can see we have our deaths tracked as well. And then if I were to leave the game and come back in, you should see that the kills and deaths remain. It didn't lose that. And then finally, let's ignore my bug stash. Let's go say that we want to access it on a new character, and we want to transfer all of our kills over to our new character. Well, as you can see, our new character doesn't have kills and deaths because it's never had this item. It had nothing to track those. And it's just once more to show you that this is tied to the character itself. And so even if you're to transfer that exact item to another character, you're not going to see that same information. It's going to pull up their characters, their kills and deaths. So yeah, with all that said, thanks for sticking around to the very end. Hope you've enjoyed the tutorial and enjoy. Bye.